Hello and welcome back to Sprite Guard Plays HyperRogue. We are on our way to getting the Minefield achievement for being in a ring of 7 mines and then escaping, and so we are going to head out to sea, and we are going to gather up some dead orbs along the way. Here is an ocean that we can get into. So the plan is to head out. Let's see, we've already been to Relia, and we've already gotten our grimoires, so the next thing we want is an Orb of Time, which requires going into the Caribbean. So I'm going to wait for the tide to come in, and then I'm going to kind of follow it out and look for a boat. And we will just see what we can do from there. So we're probably going to have to wait quite a while for a boat. We're going to have to go all the way out, as far as we can get, and then wait for the tide to come back in. Because I can't chase it out. I can't quite go fast enough to chase it all the way out. But it looks like we're going to be able to pick up one that is fairly far out, fairly close to the edge of the ocean. And so we may even actually, there we go, we actually managed to get out ahead of the tide, which is pretty difficult to do, but we had a lucky opportunity there. So we are looking for the Caribbean, and here is one over here. We have not been to the Living Fjord, so we don't have to worry about elementals, which is good because they can really mess up our day. That parrot is going to kind of restrict our mobility here a little bit, so we need to be aware of that. Now, the Caribbean is one of the areas where I know that I have run into some trouble with getting swarmed, and so I kind of thought of a new way of approaching it, a new kind of strategy for dealing with areas where swarms tend to show up. And basically my intention is to just really try and check every turn whether or not there's a swarm, and then if there is, we're gonna really stop and plan out all of our moves. So I see 2 pirates on screen, pretty far apart, so we can take them out one at a time. And we're going to try and just kind of go around in the kind of 10-ish area. So let's stand on here and see. We are 9 steps from the center here. So we kind of want to go around about this depth, because that way we'll have the opportunity for treasures to generate, but we will also be not too deep in, and we will be able to escape a little bit more easily. So let's see, this looks like another 9, so I think over this way probably is where we want to start looking. We may need to dip a little bit deeper just because they don't generate all that often, and I don't want to get pushed out. Like, see here, this forest is pushing us out toward the sea, and so we actually want to go in this way and try and find our way deeper in. But that's difficult to do without a compass because of the difficulty with orienteering. And see now, I'm seeing like these are pointing over this way. So I think probably over here is a good place to look. We probably want actually a compass over here. So we're going to see if we can attract a pirate. And there we go. So now we're 12 deep. And it's over this way, in between this kind of narrow stand of trees here, this narrow clearing. And now we are going to probably want to start heading back outwards, which we can head in any direction at all, and we will be able to make our way out. And we basically just want to kind of weave in and out, and just try and end up going, when we go in, we want to kind of go in from a different place each time. So here we're once again at 12, so we want to look around and see if there's any treasures to find that are nestled in around the trees. And here's a couple over here, so I'm going to check my corners, of which there are none, but I don't know why, but I always refer to looking around the edge of the disc as checking my corners, which is kind of nonsensical, but it makes sense to me, and so that's the way I think. I often think of things with kind of cute, weird little names that don't always make the most sense, but I kind of come up with them and start using them. So now we probably actually want to do a little bit more weaving. I unfortunately don't remember what directions we've already been in. So here we're actually too far out to actually get any treasures, probably. So we're going to have to find our way back in to the interior. But hopefully we can take a slightly different route and end up in a slightly different part of the interior, so that we can find new treasures. And it may be that we just want to head back out and try a different island, because that is... I find that the restrictiveness of the trees and my own difficulty orienteering means that sometimes it's easier to just try dipping into a lot of islands. Another thing we could do that would be pretty easy is we can find our way out here. No, actually, I was thinking that we could find our way out here and then just make our way around the edge of the island. But because of the way that circles work, we would actually end up not covering very much ground that way. So it's probably going to be more profitable to just go to a completely different island. Because you can go, you know, if you go for a long distance along the edge, you will end up, and then you go back toward the center, you'll end up in a very small slice, still seeing roughly the same area, and so it's not actually that useful. And that's why the Camelot can take like weeks and weeks to walk around, or at the very least days, if not weeks. Let's see, 7 this way, so let's see if we can... There's a treasure right there. And there's a couple of treasures we can get to from here. Looks like 3. Want to deal with this parrot, and then this pirate, and then this other parrot. And then we can grab these 2 treasures, and then we'll probably want to follow the tree line in the direction that compass is pointing. So now we want to head, let's see, yeah, so along the tree line here, and just head a little bit deeper, and then start heading out again, and see if we can find more treasures nestled in among the trees. So yeah, pretty quickly here we're seeing that we're going to be blocked by this, well, maybe not, maybe we can go along the edge of the trees here and continue, and there in fact is a treasure, and so we're going to want to grab that. But now we're kind of we're getting enough parrots that I'm starting to worry about my ability to get in and get these treasures. So we may want to start heading outward. Yeah, here we've got another kind of flock of parrots to deal with. So now we can't get across in any obvious way, so I think it's time to start heading outwards again. And we are 22 cells deep at this point, so... oh, and we only need 1 more treasure, so we should have a pretty good chance of finding one on the way out. Because we are deep enough. And there it is. So that is going to be our last treasure that we need. And then we are going to just focus on getting out of here as quickly as possible in as direct a line as possible, because we want the Orb of Time to appear in the crossroads. We don't care about it appearing in the minefield. So there we go. That is our 10th treasure collected, and now it doesn't really matter as long as we're not following along one of the lines. It doesn't matter what direction we walk in, we will end up at the edge, and we can even pick up this Orb of Time, though we don't actually have anything to use it on just yet. So that will half preserve itself, which is about as useful as we can ask for. We probably will end up just running it dry, just because it's going to take us a while to find a crossroads. We're going to have to wait out the tide here, and that always takes a really long time. So, and then once we get in here, we don't actually know that we're going to be finding a crossroads. Relia seems very likely, but we can find the crossroads from Relia because we have cleared it. But we don't actually know what it's going to be, and it's not actually that likely to be something that's immediately useful. And it looks like it's an icy land, actually. So we are going to wait for the tide to let us get right up there. It's important to remember not to step onto dry land while you're following the tide in, because it will the tide will come in and you can actually end up getting trapped that way. And it sounds like the upstairs neighbors are back, so I was hoping they were out on a walk, and so they had the dogs with them, and I was hoping that I would be able to get something recorded while they were out, but it sounds like I have not managed to do that, though I don't hear the dogs, so it may be that we still have some peace. There is another orb of shielding, but yeah, our orb of time has been depleted. But I will grab this orb of shielding. It probably won't do any good for us because they are so short-lived, but we can grab this orb of flash and this other orb of flash, and that will actually give us a nice big stockpile. So we can carry that with us, and that has the opportunity to get us out of some trouble. And here is hell. Now, I kind of wanted to see, and I still kind of would like to see, but it looks like we're not going to have an immediate opportunity. I'm going to pick up this orb of flash, but we're going to have to get in some fights along the way. This orb of shielding may be worth grabbing, and that will just simplify things a little bit for us. And then we're going to grab this this orb of flash and hopefully be able to get back into the into hell. So what I wanted to check is if the orb of flash has any effect on lakes of sulfur. I don't think it does. Yeah, it does not. But the orb of flash has so many interesting effects on landscape that I wanted to check. So we are going to grab our demon daisies, and then we are going to be on the lookout for either a crossroads or a cicadas, and we will take the first of those that is presented to us. And then probably we're going to wrap it up. As I mentioned in the last couple of parts, I want to keep these a little bit on the shorter side and just try and really rein it in. Only try and do 1 or 2 things in each episode, or each part of each episode rather, and just focus on... part of that is actually managing fatigue, because I tend to make poor decisions when I'm tired, and I'm not as good at talking when I'm tired, and so I would rather have a short episode where we don't do very much, but I don't end up getting fatigued, don't end up getting dried out and kind of rambling on for a really long time. So this may actually be a worthwhile place to exit into, just because it's very easy to cross the Land of Eternal Motion. There's a lot of freedom, and we should be able to find either an Orb of Safety or a Crossroads. Orbs of Safety are native to the Land of Eternal Motion, but they seem very rare. Rarer than orbs seem in a lot of other lands, and I'm not sure why that is. It's a very common orb in the Crossroads, but I very rarely see it in the Land of Eternal Motion, and I'm often not able to reach it, but there we go. So, I'm actually, let's see, we have 7 charges, 1, 2, 3, 4... So I'm going to step into the Crossroads here. And that is where we're going to end it. So in the next part of the episode, we are going to be looking for a vineyard and trying to burn that down in order to get the Orbs of Ether spawning. We will also be looking for the cicadas. And we will be looking to get the treasures from there so that Orbs of Winter will spawn in the Crossroads. And we may actually want to go for 25. That's very risky. And so, in order to make that feasible, we may want to first have the Orb of Ether spawning, and also have the orb, let's see, from the Living Fjord, the Orb of the Fish. We may want to have that available to us, because that will make it a little bit easier to navigate in the Cicadas. Will give us some more options, will make it easier to fight the demon sharks. And so, those are the things that we will be looking for to kind of to help that out. But what we may do is we may go for 10 sapphires, and then back out, look around for the orbs that we need, and then go in for 15 more. We'll have to kind of play it by ear. But that is what is coming up. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.